What Once Was Mine, Chapter 24, Rapunzel. They only stopped running when Rapunzel could literally not go any farther, her legs spasming and seizing up. Gina collapsed heavily on a boulder and pulled back her jerkin. The flesh underneath was ragged, ugly, torn, and bruised. Rapunzel suddenly realized that the strange, regular incisions were bite marks from a horse. There were clear beads of sweat on her friend's pale face, but she just calmly and methodically pulled out her water skin and washed the wound, hissing when cold drops hit her flesh. I was just saying to myself, Flynn said as soon as he caught his breath. Flynn, you're getting a little saggy from the lack of exercise and far too much foie gras. What you really need is a serious training program where you're forced to run for your life every second of the day. I'd like to personally thank you, Princess, for making this man's six-pack ambitions come true. Not a princess, Rapunzel said weakly, still heaving and panting. There was a stitch in her side that was refusing to go away. Her hair had come undone with all the running, some of her loops and whirls and braids now spread out around her like a silvery mass of fishing nets. She groaned, thinking of the time it would take to redo it all. So just for the record, in my own edification, where does getting hunted down by every hired heavy in the land appear in the aforementioned contract of simply taking you to the lanterns and giving me the crown? Us, the crown, Gina corrected, using the end of her shirt to dab at some drying blood. I didn't, Rapunzel began. Out of the goodness of my heart, I decide to lend you my help. And then Batherley burns down the snuggly duckling while hunting for you, and Samhet sends out what looks like his ugliest evildoers after you. You being the common element here. What exactly is going on? What aren't you telling us? I somehow feel it doesn't have anything to do with lanterns. Lady, it's time to fess up, Gina said frankly, but not meanly. She pointed at her wound. Rapunzel put her head in her hands. Her adventures had been going so well. It had been literally the best week of her life. She had made 2 entirely new friends who weren't puppets or paintings. She was finally on her way to see the floating lights. And now this. She could have dealt with just Flynn yelling. He didn't have to be actually angry at her, and most of what he said was just his usual drama, nothing serious. Plus, she had a sneak suspicion from the way he looked at her that if he was upset with her at all, he wouldn't stay that way for very long. But Gina asking for the truth, and the way she looked at her, Rapunzel sighed. I swear to you, all I wanted to do was see the lanterns. That's the truth. These men, they're all probably after me to protect the kingdom. The world, really. I was never supposed to leave my tower. All this beautiful hair, it's murder hair. The 2 stared at her. Flynn silently slid his feet back away from the hair where they had almost touched it. Gina began to giggle. Murder hair? Oh, come on. The story came out of Rapunzel with her breath, deflating her utterly. That's why I got upset when you tried to touch my hair, she finished tiredly once she had all there was to tell. It's not vanity. If I lose my temper or panic or I don't know, I could kill you. Your own parents, Flynn murmured. An orphan by your own hand, I can't imagine. Wait, is that part of why you're so freaky about killing birds somehow? Gina asked. It has something to do with your hair? Rapunzel nodded. She kind of wanted to cry. She focused on fixing her braids, the smooth, reassuring, and thick hanks that slid over each other seamlessly in a fisherman's plait. Flynn and Gina watched her put her hair away with newfound wonder, and maybe relief. When she felt together enough again, she spoke. Mother had me use my hair to kill them as a lesson on how dangerous I was to the world, how I needed to stay locked up in the tower and away from everyone forever. That seems excessive, Flynn said. Like, maybe have someone else raise you kind of excessive. I'm now having an even harder time understanding how you aren't completely nuts right now. To be locked up, punished, for something that you did as a baby, your whole life? The man who had been swaggeringly trying to talk his way out of a situation with mercenaries and royal guards not that long ago now gazed at her with eyes that were bright and sad. Rapunzel couldn't look away. Why not just cut off your hair? He asked. You could wear a wimple or a wig or something. Not the most fashionable solution, but still, problem solved. Rapunzel smiled wanly. Sure, if that would work, but it's part of the magic. Cutting it would kill me. So they don't fear or hate you enough to kill you, but just enough to imprison you forever? Nice, Flynn said, shaking his head. Wait, why lock you up at all? Gina suddenly asked. I mean, with your power and your stories about your power, you could rule the whole world, the queen with the murder hair. People will sing about you for centuries. Why wouldn't those who knew about your powers, those who imprisoned you, want that for themselves? Rapunzel was speechless. She had never even thought about that before. Flynn nodded thoughtfully. That's absolutely right, and I'll bet you're the first one with that idea. What do you think is more likely? A bunch of warring, creepy lords and ladies running all over enemy territory to re-imprison a dangerous girl? Or trying to grab her for their own use? Rapunzel shook her head. The only person who knows about me and my powers is my mother, and she doesn't know any nobles. Are you sure? Maybe she has a big mouth. Also, there's the people who saw what happened when you were a baby, Gina pointed out. And those who made sure you wound up in a tower. Yeah, something's fishy about this. I'm sorry, Rapunzel, Flynn said. I tend to see the devious and worst in most humans, hazard of the occupation, but all too often I'm right. You're being chased after like the Holy Grail, like something out of an ancient saga, not just being shot down as a potential danger to the public, like a dragon. Gina nodded. Yeah, people don't keep people in towers to keep the world safe. They kill people to keep the world safe. All of them were quiet for a moment, letting this sink in. But no, I'm just... Rapunzel trailed off. I'm just... Rapunzel. Yes, you're also a weapon, or a bargaining chip, or a treasure. Someone they want alive in a tower, not at large or dead. Oh, what are we gonna do with you? Finn sighed, and slid down against the tree into the ground, being careful to keep his feet away from Rapunzel's stray ends. I guess that means we're not going to see the floating lights, she said sadly. But she also noticed that he said, what are we going to do with you? He wasn't abandoning her. He was just trying to figure out what to do. Maybe I should just go back to my tower, she suggested, despite not liking that idea. No way, Gina said angry. You're not a doll with a murder hair or a treasure or a weapon. You're a person, and you're not going to spend the next 20 years imprisoned. If it was a punishment for your crime you committed, it's been enough anyway. The genie is out of the bottle, and she's staying out. Rapunzel smiled. She had never seen someone so angry on her behalf before. It felt warm and sturdy, like a good chair you knew would hold you when you were down. We just need to take a moment to regroup. Lay low while we figure this all out, Flynn said, tapping his chin. Gina brightened. We can go to my mom's. No one will find us there. I hardly think a small holding is going to escape anyone's notice right now, no matter how small, Flynn objected. Batherley's using bloodhounds. Folks seem to be literally combing the forest for Rapunzel here. Every and any house, hovel, and hut is going to be searched. Yeah, well, you don't know my mom, Gina said with a smile. When she doesn't want to be found, she really doesn't want to be found. And besides, maybe she can help Rapunzel out with her hair. Why, is she a barber? Flynn asked with a roll of his eyes. No, Gina answered with a grin. She's a witch.